Today we're going to be talking about a yokai from Japanese mythology that has fascinated me since I was like 13 years old watching Naruto for the first time. These little magical Japanese foxes have captivated imaginations for centuries, and it's pretty easy to see why, seeing as they can shapeshift, create illusions, possess humans, control minds. Kitsune are one of the most intriguing beings in all of mythology. I'd honestly put it up there with like Cerberus and stuff like that in peak interest, so yay. They date all the way back to the German period, where people used to make necklaces out of fox canines and jawbones, which is kind of macabre and creepy, but also kind of cool, I guess. But primarily kind of creepy, I mean. As time went on, foxes became more prevalent in Japanese mythology. The earliest mentions of foxes being considered supernatural beings appeared in Nihon Shoki, which is a historical record that was created around 720 CE. These early stories portrayed foxes as omens, both good and bad. One of the early stories actually happened in 657 CE, where people spotted a white fox in the Amai province, and it was seen as a positive sign for good luck for their harvest. One of the coolest crossovers between all of Japanese folklore is that of the Anari, which is a Shinto god of rice, and the Kitsune, because the Kitsune was often depicted as the Inari's servant fox, making them super crucial to merchants and farmers and pretty much all of Japan because everyone needs to eat. So because of the importance of Anari, as well as now technically the Kitsune as being their servant, there are over 30,000 fox statues in religious shrines all across Japan. That's a lot of foxes. These Kitsune are seen as like holy messengers, bridging the gap between the earthly and celestial realms. They bring news and advice to righteous humans and even sometimes bring good luck. Now let's get through the Kitsune basics. They can shapeshift into both female and male forms, but there is a kicker. Even when they're in their human forms, they still have some Kitsune, characteristics to them. For example, the vulpine eyes are always visible. Also, if they ever get like drunk or really over emotional, they can have their ears and their tail just pop out, which can I imagine can be really awkward in some situations. Like picture you're on a date, you finally got a date with this really pretty person that you've always wanted to go out with, you start getting really nervous, and next thing you know your ears and your tail pop out. I feel like it might ruin the mood a little bit, or it might make it better depending on what you're interested in. I don't know, everyone's different. In their natural form, Kitsune are generally portrayed as beautiful, elegant, with luscious fur, but they're also kind of unique in the fact that they're quite colourful. For example, Kazu Kitsune, which was the one that has an affinity for wind, can either be white with light blue features or black with dark green features, which is very stylish, very nice. Now let's talk about the real fascinating stuff, superpowers. Kitsune are known for having amazing powers which they use for both good and mischievous purposes. Kitsune are well known for their ability to shapeshift into human and non-human forms, even inanimate objects. And some very powerful Kitsune are able to turn into large humanoid forms or even amphibious creatures like frogs. The masters of deception are able to create the most intricate illusions that fool pretty much anybody, kind of like Genjutsu. Bringing it back to Naruto. Though I don't think Hyubi from Naruto can do illusion magic. He's pretty much just a big fox. Big nine-tailed fox inside of Naruto. He's very angry as well. Also elemental powers, which is pretty much just Pokemon. Different types of Kitsune have control over different elemental powers. For example, Kazu Kitsune can control fire, while Chiku Kitsune can control earthquakes. They also have a really cool aspect that has a really cool name called Foxfire. Kitsunes can create fire and lightning by rubbing their tails together. They can even cause a ball of fire through their tails and breathe fire, which I know sounds very snazzy and cool like a dragon, but apparently in Japanese mythology, breathing fire is bloody ordinary and pretty much everyone can do it. I mean, the Keisha could breathe fire, who I did a video on earlier. Kitsune can breathe fire, so evidently breathing fire is not very cool in Japan. It's just, your regular little thing. Mind control and dream manipulation. Pretty much like vampires, they're able to make you see things or not see things depending on what they want, and they can even haunt your dreams. So my advice is don't piss off a Kitsune, otherwise you are never going to sleep properly again. Now, if we're going to talk about the superpowers of the Kitsune, we really need to talk about the number of tails they have, as it's super important for how much ability the Kitsune has. They're born with just one tail, but as they grow older and wiser, they can get up to 9 tails. It's kind of like fox leveling up. A nine-tailed fox or a Cubino kitsune are considered the most powerful and revered form for a kitsune. These incredible creatures are believed to have the ability to see or hear anything in the entire world. Some tales even credit them with infinite wisdom, which is very cool. But the ultimate goal or the final level when it comes to being a kitsune is to reach Tenko form, or heavenly fox. After living for 1,000 years and getting their ninth tail, kitsune can turn either gold or white and raise up to the heavens. But these tails aren't just for show, they are able to give them the special abilities I mentioned earlier. But they can also gain some other ones, for example the ability to fly, which I like to picture as the kitsune just spins its tails around like Tails from Sonic and gains the ability to fly that way because I think that'd be really cute. Now when writing for this video I was looking for a whole bunch of, nice and cute kitsune stories to show you, and I found two that I think are really interesting, so I hope you enjoy them. The first one I'm going to tell you about is about the fox wife. In my opinion, it's probably one of the most heartwarming kitsune stories I could find. It was a story of Kazuna, a fox who became the devoted wife of a human named Yasuna. Yasuna, who was a kind-hearted but sickly man, came across Kazuna in her fox form as she was trapped in a soldier's trap. As a kind-hearted man, Yasuna set free Kazuna and she ran off into the forest. But as she was really touched by Yasuna's actions of setting her free, she decided to transform herself into a human woman and go and take care of Yasuna until it was back to health. Over the time where Kazuna was taking care of Yasuna, they slowly began to fall in love and eventually had a family. One day while admiring the chrysanthemums with her son Sammy, Kazuna accidentally revealed her kitsune form, and she sadly had to leave her family and run away into Shinida forest, but not before leaving a poem and instructions for her family to find her. Although she couldn't return to her human form, she still wanted to communicate with her family, so she blessed her son with the ability to speak to animals, and that way she was able to communicate with her son. So it's a bit sad, but also quite a heartwarming tale because, she gave her son special abilities and she could still talk to her son, so I think that's a pretty nice tale for a kitsune. Now that we've had the heartwarming tale, let's get to the more interesting tale. This is about the most powerful and most famous kitsune through all of Japanese mythology, Tamno no Me. This nine-tailed magical fox is no typical kitsune. She's considered one of the 3 terrible yokai of Japan, which there are a lot of yokai who do a lot of questionable things. So being named one of the terrible 3, like in the pinnacle 3 terrible ones, is actually a lot of work and kind of impressive in a weird way. Now Tamno no Me's story is actually mind-blowing. She was born 3,500 or so years ago in China. She eventually became a powerful sorceress and a golden-furred kitsune, which is very powerful, as you remember, because they're the heavenly fox types. Her magical abilities and cunning nature are really unmatched. Around the year 1090, she appeared as a baby in Japan named Mizukumi. As she grew up, she amazed everyone with her beauty and intelligence, and by the age of 7, she recited poetry in front of the emperor. He was so impressed, he made her one of his court servants. But here's where the story takes a dark turn. When Mikazumi turned 18, the Emperor Toba made her his consort, which is kind of like a concubine for back then, so I personally wouldn't like that job, but it got her closer to the Emperor, which is exactly what she wanted. She was given the name Tamno no Me. Shortly after becoming his consort, the Emperor became deathly ill, and that's how they found out that Tamno no Me was actually a kitsune trying to kill the Emperor to take over Japan. My theory is she's probably trying to kill the Emperor and then become the Emperor, because kitsunes have shape-shifting abilities. So I think that was his plan, or that was her plan. The chase to capture Tamno no Me was something out of an action film, but it doesn't have a very happy ending if you're, rooting for the kitsune like I kind of was, not gonna lie, even though she did try to kill the Emperor, but he did kind of take her at 7 and then made him his consort, so a bit groomy, so I think he kind of deserved it. An army of 80,000 men, led by 2 skilled warriors, was sent to hunt Tamno no Me down. After days of pursuit and magical trickery, they eventually did manage to capture her and kill her. But even in death, Tamno no Me is still causing havoc and chaos wherever she goes, and has been blamed for starting a few wars with her magical trickery and stuff. Our little magical fox friends are not just one-dimensional creatures. They have pretty complex personalities and can be both mischievous and malevolent. On each side of the fox spectrum, we have Zenko, which is the good side, and Yako, which is the wild side or the bad side. Zenko, or good foxes, are known as messengers of the gods. What's really cool about Zenko is that their society actually mirrors our own. They have tribes, families, and even different ranks. And some shrines, including the Fushimi Inari shrine in Kyoto, even have their own special degrees and ranks for performing Zenko. Now let's discuss the other end of the coin. We're talking about the Yako, or wild foxes. These mischievous old tricksters is what gives the Kitsune the reputation of being mischievous and sometimes even dangerous. They're known for loving to play pranks on humans, especially those who are self-righteous. They're most known for possessing humans, which is called Kitsune Suki, as well as seducing men to trick them. One common story I heard about Yako Kitsune is that they would disguise themselves as travelers or monks and make villagers or convince villagers to let them stay the night. And while the villagers sleep, the Yako steal all their food as well as prized possessions. To be honest, I think this is just the Kitsune getting a bad name and being blamed for just bad people's actions, because I have no idea what a Kitsune would actually need with like some apples and your prized soccer trophy from the 10th grade. Like, I think it's just a person going around and stealing your stuff, because I don't think there's any Kitsunes addicted to iPads, you know? As I brought up earlier, Kitsune possession, or Kitsune Suki as it is in Japanese, is quite a unique phenomenon in Japan, and it's even been considered like a medical diagnosis for a while. The concept became very widespread in the 15th century, but there is evidence of it happening in the Heian period. What I find really interesting is how Kitsune possession was viewed throughout all of the years of history. For example, in the Edo period, it became the most prevalent and valid excuse for mental health issues. For example, if you had like schizophrenia or something in the Edo period, people generally believed it's because you had a fox spirit inside of you causing all these weird behaviours. Now here are some symptoms and behaviours associated with fox possession. The key symptoms are running around naked, frothing at the mouth and yelping like a fox, and writing in languages you previously did not know, developing fox-like facial features, for example sharp pointy teeth, or a more angular face, and craving food that foxes are believed to have liked, like tofu. One of the most strange and unique symptoms of being possessed by a fox is a strange lump moving underneath your skin. And apparently this lump like had a mind of its own, and like if you tried to grab the lump, it would move out of the way. So it's kind of like those, what do you call it? What were those beetles in the Mummy? The beetles that went underneath the skin? Scarab beetles. So it's kind of like those scarab beetles from the Mummy, you know, the little lumps that go under the skin. Though I imagine it's a bit less scary than scarabs because they were terrifying in that movie. What actually was it? Because if it's not fox possession, like what disease causes people like lumps to move under your body? Like that's terrifying. Until the 20th century, in Japan, fox possession was one of the common diagnoses for mental illness. Which, you know, I mean, they did some weird things in the West for mental illness, like lobotomy, so I think fox possession is not that bad at the end of the day. These little magical Japanese foxes have captivated imaginations for centuries, and it's pretty easy to see why, seeing as they can shapeshift, create illusions, possess humans, control minds. They are absolutely intriguing, and I really hope you enjoy today's video.